Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the chart behind me, which is of Plug Power, ticker symbol PLUG. And so here I am recording this on Tuesday, April 1st, after the market has closed, and Plug closed at a price of $1.31, being down about 3% on the day, but bouncing a couple pennies in the after hours. And so, yeah, I wanted to follow up on the chart largely because you guys voted for it. And so, something I'm going to try to do every day during the week is put out a poll, just kind of taking requests for videos. These are three stocks that stand out as interesting to me, and the majority for today's poll was Plug Power, and so that's why I'm covering it. And so make sure you follow me over on X, that is dgen_Ann. You can see it up in the banner there, and that is because I am Andy, and over there, that is Ed in the corner there, being quiet but thinking hard. But anyways, thinking about Plug over here, did hit a low of $1.26 on Monday, March 31st, but then closed the day above this green downtrend that I think is a pretty notable close, and that was at a price of $1.35, although we did retrace some and close below that line today. So not such a great look there, but there are some things that give me a little bit of confidence that we could be seeing a bounce, although it may not be that large of a bounce. And before I take a step back to kind of explain where these levels come from, I just wanted to point out that I did have these two alerts here. I know one's at I thought one was at $1.30. Looks like 137 and 134. And so 137 was a previous low. I believe the low from over here, let's say, yeah, during market hours, the low is 137. Around earnings, during the pre-market, I believe the low was $1.34. So that's why I had both of those levels. I wanted to be alerted if we were breaking those lows, and we in fact did break them. And so, is this a dip buying opportunity, or is this just going to be a continuation of this trend following this green downtrending line? And so let's take a step back further so we can look at some more data up here. And let's see, this is what I wanted to look at. So going back to, let's see, the low from September 6th, that was at a price of $1.60. You can see the yellow line there, and that is also the beginning of this downtrending green line, pivot point from that low, September 6th, as well as the low from over here on March 4th. And so looking at that, we can see clearly that we have been putting in lower lows. But if we look at the RSI right in front of Ed's face there, we can see that the RSI was at 2868. So that was the low over there. And if we look across over to where it's currently at, it's actually 2872. And so those are effectively the same value. And so with the RSI having flat lows and the stock price having lower lows, that is a weak bullish divergence, so it's not something to get too excited about. And if the RSI does come down lower, it does really negate that. So something to be keeping an eye on. If the RSI does bounce in the coming days, that could be a weak, it's a weak bullish divergence. So it could be that signal in that maybe the bottom is in here. So there is definitely some hope there. And then I do have this yellow line up here, like I said, at 160 based on the low over here. I have that colored in yellow because that's kind of like a caution level, maybe acting as support over here, but now we're below it. I think that's probably going to act as some resistance if we do get a bounce. So do keep an eye on that. But if we don't get a bounce, if we do continue lower, it could just follow this green downtrend, and, that's all that we need to put up there. And I have to say that downtrends like this do make me a little uneasy. It reminds me of Fisker. I don't know if you guys followed the videos that I put out on that, but they unfortunately ended up announcing their bankruptcy and, becoming delisted. So that stock effectively went to zero. And that is definitely, in all honesty, a possibility, something that needs to be considered with any stock, and especially a stock like Plug Power. Hydrogen fuel cell energy. And, I do think that with what we're seeing, whether that's in the economy or in politics right now, I don't necessarily think the current administration is necessarily in that much a favor of hydrogen fuel cell power. I believe there is a quote of Trump talking about hydrogen powered cars and talking about if there's an accident, they have to recover the body from a tree because just because of that lot of energy there, the car can kind of go off and people can go flying. So that didn't really seem like a great vote of confidence in hydrogen fuel cell energy. So just, good to be considering that. And while that is something like in a car, in a vehicle, Plug does offer other forms of hydrogen fuel cell energy, storage, stuff like that. To be honest, I'm not going to get into all the details because I don't know, but I know that they have, tankers and storage or energy facilities. So it would not just be in something like a hydrogen powered car. Actually, they don't do that. So, but that is still something to be considerate of, that this could end up being delisted, that this could go down more. So good to be cautious of that, good to have a plan. And so before I talk about some of these levels to the upside, I did want to take a step back further because of this red line that I have here, which was the low from January 18th of 2024. That looks like it was at a price of $2.26.3. That was support over here, and then we bounced a couple times before breaking lower, finding it as resistance. And so I think that is going to be a very notable level of resistance if we do get above $1.60, if we do get into the twos. I think that 226 is likely going to be a level of rejection. So do be prepared for that if this does, get triggered by, let's say, maybe a gamma squeeze or gamma ramp, something like that, which I will go over Max Pain in just a second. But I wanted to talk about this low from January 18th as a pivot point, just thinking about another potential level to the downside. We hit 126 over here. What if we go lower? Where might it be heading down to? And so I'm just going to draw another trend line based on the low from January 18th. And I'm actually going to do this blind so I can, make sure I get the pivot points right, and then we can see where the line will be relative to the current stock action. And so the low over here, I've got that marked here, 226.3, and then the low over here marked as 160. So I'm just going to make sure those levels are correct. They are. So I'm going to lock that line into place, and I'm going to make that thicker, and I'm going to make it green because maybe that's a dip buying level down there. And with that being green, I don't want to confuse this with this green one. I'm actually going to change this to yellow because that's the level we're at right now. Maybe it acts as support, but maybe it doesn't. Kind of the caution zone. And since we are now below this yellow horizontal line at 160, that's going to be more in the resistance shading. So I am going to change that to orange. So we've got this nice little green to red gradient suggesting, levels of resistance to the upside, potential support where we are currently at, and potential downside if we do go lower. And, just where the cursor is at, just being approximate there, that's right around $1 a share. And so with the price being, getting pretty close to $1, I could see it heading down that way because, if I was a short seller, which I'm not, I would look at a stock like Plug or, any stock that's trading around $1. I would look at it and be like, wow, I want to drive that one to $1 and keep it below $1. So they have to conduct a reverse split to maintain compliance with the NASDAQ by maintaining a share price above $1. And so if I was a short seller, I'd want to push it down to at least $1 a share. And so I do think that is possible. And just where the cursor is here, that does intersect with the green line there. And that would be by April 11th. So that's just next Friday, not this coming Friday, which is the 4th, but the following Friday, the 11th. Maybe we could be at $1 a share by then. But to be honest, I don't think that's going to happen so soon. If we do head down to $1, I think it could take more time than that. And if it does take more time, this downtrending level would suggest price could be going lower. So good to have a plan if we do start to break down. But like I said at the beginning of the video, we did, close above that level on the 31st, close the month of March, above that now yellow downtrend. While we did close below it today, we didn't close below 126, so yesterday's low. So there's a little bit of hope there that, it is hanging out at this level. But if it does hang out at this level too long, then it might be making, I'm just going to adjust the shading here. Maybe you can tell what I'm drawing. Maybe it'd be making a bear flag if we do consolidate here too long. So by April 11th, if we're still around this level, I think it's probably going to break down and continue down lower than 126. What we would really want to see, if this is to be the bottom, is we want to see a V-shaped recovery, and reclaiming 160 would be excellent. But, that hasn't happened yet. So let's just keep an eye on where it's trading, if it is holding this level, or if it does start to fade lower. And then I do suspect that we will be below all of the moving averages, but I'm just going to throw them up there just to see where they're at. And so, yeah, up here we can see the 21-day moving average. That looks like it's at a price of $1.57.5, roughly corresponding with that orange line. So there's going to be some resistance there. And if we do trend lower, if we do go lower, that 50-day moving average in yellow will probably come down to around 160. And so that would be another more notable level of resistance, that 50-day moving average being more notable than the 21-day. And if we do take a step back even further, we can see the 200-day moving average there is at 213.2. But if we do hang out down here, we don't even have to go lower, just hanging out below these moving averages, they will trend lower, and then maybe that 200-day might coincide with right around $2, and that not only being a moving average at a future time, but also being $2, a whole dollar, even dollar number, $2 bill. I recently got one of those, and they always make me feel a little uneasy, so I got rid of it right away. But anyways, $2, I think that could be some very, very notable resistance if we do start to break out to the upside. It's possible we don't even get to 226. And so thinking about, really like around $1.50 and $2, I want to take us over to look at the max pains for Plug Power. As you can see up here, I'm just going to scroll down so you guys can see all of them. But yeah, I just wanted to look at really, these up here, just noting that max pain seems to be fairly consistent right around $1.50 getting into the monthly contract expiration in May. Beyond that, it goes back up to 2, and then January of next year, 150 again. But yeah, max pain does look like it's hanging out right around $1.50, and with the current stock price being below $1.50, that's not looking so great. But if we start to move higher and we potentially close above 150, maybe not this week, maybe next week on the 11th, maybe that could trigger, some more upward momentum. And then if we were able to close above 2 on the 17th for the monthly contract expiration for April, then, I think we could be talking about, gamma squeeze or ramp type territory. But, in all honesty, with price being so notably lower than $1.50 at $1.31 here, testing, the 120s, I think it's unlikely that we start to see a gamma ramp, but this does seem like we could potentially see that with that monthly expiration on April 17th. And if we do start to go higher, if we do get above $2 a share above that 200-day moving average there, which I'm just going to remove now so it's not too cluttered. If we do get up to 226 and really start to have some momentum around that April 17th monthly contract expiration, we do have this gap up here at 593. And let's see, are there other gaps leading up to that? There was a gap here, but that was filled. Gaps over here, they were filled. Let's see. All of these gaps that I see here were filled. So that's really like the only notable gap to the upside that really stands out to me. And from current price, that's a very massive move to the upside. If I do get a measurement of that, that would be, about a 350% move to the upside. But just because I'm measuring it, just because I'm suggesting that there's a possibility that that could happen, doesn't mean it's going to happen. I suspect this is the least likely scenario. Of everything that I've talked about, what I feel like is most likely is if we don't consolidate down here, if we don't form a bear flag, if we start to bounce, maybe following, the tariff news coming out, April 2nd, if markets and plug start to rally, I'd like to see how it responds to 160. And with the max pain for the monthly expiration being up here and that 200-day moving average being right here, what I could see potentially happening, and I feel like this is the hopeful scenario, the optimistic scenario, is that we go up here, maybe get rejected from that 50-day moving average, pull back to find, 160, 150, maybe around let's see, contract expiration on, let's say, the 11th or maybe the 4th this week, depending how volatile we are, pull back to that, and then maybe go up to test that 200-day moving average. But I suspect ultimately we will be getting rejected from 226. And I have to say, unfortunately, these downtrending levels, they remind me of Fisker. And so I feel like it's good to have a plan for if this does play out, but maybe from there we do get rejected and then maybe we form a bear flag here before breaking lower. And just coming back to that downtrend over here, that would again be around 125 or so. But if we do start to break down below that, maybe we could be testing. And I suspect we will be later this year testing $1 a share. So good to have a plan for that. But there is definitely some hope in the coming weeks. And so personally, that's what I'm hoping for. But the small position that I do have, I'm just trying to kind of tighten up my portfolio. I'll probably be trimming out of my position, if not completely exiting it, if we do get back up to around $2 a share, just because I'm trying to manage my risk. And, I'm spread a little too thin. And I think that this is probably a little more speculative than I would like to be in. And that's just thinking about how Fisker and others, Lordstown Motors in the past from years ago, they can go under and they can be delisted and stocks can go to zero. So good to be cautious about that. But let's see what happens in April. Maybe we do get some upside. And if we do get some upside, I'll follow up and see if volume and whatnot is behind the move and if we are going to be getting back into the twos. But anyways, as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and have a great rest of your Tuesday. Take care, you guys.